Hello and welcome to the Gimme a Hull Yeah Wrestling podcast. This is our Impact Rebellion 2023 review. There is some bangers on this card and we are going to cover it for you. We are sorry we couldn't do it last night, but it was too late. Fortunately, Impact Wrestling are doing lots of pay-per-views and shows on Fridays and Saturdays coming up. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Rebellion 2023 and we will be back with our review show straight after this from Sammy Guevara.
Hello, welcome, and give me a hell yeah. Give me a whole yeah. Give me a whole yeah. From the Spanish god, Sammy Guevara. Cheers to everyone watching in Yorkshire and beyond. Hope you guys have a great day from the Spanish god. Shout out to Dom, shout out to Anthony. You guys are smart because you're fans of me. And anyways, have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Sammy. So we are here to review Rebellion 2023. This is the first time we've actually done a review like this, certainly in a long time. It was an idea we had last week because neither myself or Sam was going to be awake, unfortunately, to see this live. There's some wonderful channels out there like the Insiders that are able to do live coverage. Shout out to the Insiders because obviously they're based in the US. We are based in the UK. It is a late night on a Sunday, especially when you've got work and stuff the next day. So we are covering it now because Impact Wrestling deserves the flowers, deserves the love. I love Impact Wrestling. I know you love Impact Wrestling, Sam, and this was a great pay-per-view. Not necessarily lots and lots of stars in terms of, there was no big fancy returns, no fireworks and things like that. But what Impact Wrestling do very well is incredible matches and some match of the year candidates on this card on Rebellion 2023, Sam. So what we're going to do is we're going to breeze through the pre-show for you guys, just so that obviously you can watch some of that stuff now on the YouTube, and there are highlights currently on the Impact Wrestling YouTube, so go check that out. Champagne Singh and Shara beat Rhino and Heath on the pre-show, and the Coven beat the Death Dollz. I really like the Coven, Sam. Kind of like an extroverted version of the Death Dollz. Really interesting to see sort of Taylor Wilde in that position as well. I never traditionally didn't really see Taylor Wilde in that sort of role, but the Coven seems to be doing very well. Killing King as well, a fantastic talent. So the pre-show itself was good from what I've caught up. But going straight into the main card, Sam, unless you have anything that you noticed from the pre-show, anything you sort of wanted to remark on about the pre-show.
No, I think the only thing I'd say is I kind of miss Decay era Rosemary. I like her as a baby face, no problem with that. But I don't know the Death Dollz thing. I don't know. It's not really got over with me yet, and I think now it's missing Taya Valkyrie because she's in AEW. I don't know. I'm not massively sold on it, but I'm a massive Rosemary fan, as you know. So yeah, I'm willing to see, and I find the Coven a little bit hammy. I think NXT are doing something similar, aren't they, with two of our other faves? But I'm willing to see where it goes. It was good both pre-show matches were good. I've got no complaints. So
What do you think about Rhino and Heath as a tag team? Are you shuffling around there, Sam?
I'm just getting comfy. There we go. I do a lot of shuffling on these streams.
You do a lot of shuffling.
I know, it is what it is.
You too. Like I'm sitting there sometimes. I'm like, is Sam? Has he got his balls out? Is he just
No, I am sometimes rearranging though. I am sometimes just making sure I don't sit on them. Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
That's what that mute button's for, man. If you want to have a little reshuffle, you can just mute yourself there, and
that's why I've been getting passive aggressively muted on some of these streams. Right, I'll bear that in mind.
No, it's not passive aggressive muting. There's a lot of shuffling, man.
I know, it's my chair. I have a squeaky chair. I have a Brian Last chair, I think we call them, don't we?
It's all good, man. It's all good. I just want to say thank you to the people that have joined us. Martin B is in, of course, our favourite Martin. Yeah, my question is, Rhino and Heath are on that pre-show. What do you think of, again, Rhino and Heath are lost on the pre-show. What do you think of Rhino and Heath being together in 2023, Sam?
I kind of liked Rhino when he was a member of Violent by Design. I think Heath could be a bit of a single star. It makes sense. Like they were together in WWE. And, it's 10 p.m. here. So it's nice, to see them again. But I don't know. Maybe it'd be fun for them to feud with each other at some point. I'm not so sure. I think I'm more of a Heath fan than I am a Rhino fan these days. I think Rhino was great back in the day, and it's nice seeing him do his thing. And I never get tired of seeing someone get gored. That's always awesome.
Gore! Gore! Gore!
And just to push that for you, Mark, Dex put the final nail in the coffin with that. But no, I think we're all right. I don't think they don't come after us.
POS! POS!
You know what I mean? They don't come after us with the monetization if you're talking about testicles. They only really come after us if we F and Jeff. Yeah. So we should be all right, I think.
I'm now going to call you BOS.
BOS? Well, that sounds a bit like BO, and I'm the last person who ever has that. So, balls out, Sam works.
Like PCO.
Yeah.
BOS, which we'll talk about PCO coming up. But I just want to bring up some of the comments. I missed the big chunk of the pay-per-view, but saw the bigger matches. Yeah, some fantastic stuff. Mark, Becky has blacked out her Twitter and is using her real name on it. Interesting, but we're not in the cut talk about WWE. That's going to be Dan's stream later on. We're leading you right in. We're lubing you up for a little bit of Monday Night Raw. So you
now we're demonetized. Anyway,
feel free. Lubrication is a word. Sam. Becky, you could talk about Becky Lynch with Dan. What's up, gents? Watched Rebellion early today and really enjoyed it. I hope you are keeping well. Yes, good to see you, man. Hopefully you're okay. Lots of love to you. BOS.
Martin was with me, by the way, when we all started shouting "What" in an airport lounge.
Yes, I know. I did happen upon you both. Yes, indeed. He
saw the "whatting" in an American airport, which we and quickly told us we should probably not do that because the airport security TSA might not understand what that is. So there you go.
Yeah. I personally think Rhino and Heath was better together in WWE and Impact. They should be split. Fair enough, Mark. Yeah, I can see that. Heath hasn't really impressed me in his Impact run. He's like a family-friendly Mance Warner. That's an interesting toy. An interesting point. Dex, lovely to have you here as well. Tom Talks Rubbish. The man, the myth, the legend is in, having just done an interview with our good friend Andrew Spars from Wrestling Royalty, as well as an interview with Sean Ross Sapp, the ultimate wrestling journalist. Just interviews he's the journalist that interviews the journalists, and we appreciate him for it. So Tom Talks Rubbish, big love to see you. Nice to see you. Nice. Tom Talks.
See you, big, nice, rubbish.
See you, big, nice, rubbish. There you go. It's not rubbish to see you. So we're gonna go right back up to the top of the card. I just want to give a shout out to Tom Hannafan and Matt Raywalt. Matt Raywalt, who we have interviewed on this channel. Go check out our Impact interview section. Matt and Tom are a great commentary team. I love their energy. I think they're fantastic. It starts off, obviously, with them leading in from the pre-show to the main card. And then we get the recap of Josh Alexander as champ and Mickie James as champ. Quite a tragic story, Sam, for both of these champions. Impact Wrestling just thrive under pressure, thrive under bad luck. Impact never has a good run of it when you think about these big pay-per-views. These were big marquee matches for both Josh Alexander and Mickie James, but both of them couldn't make it through injury. So to be able to see, to recap that, it just kind of drove home just how much of an underdog and how much of a kind of a powerful promotion Impact is to just make these great things happen out of tragedy. Sam, I don't know what you think about that and whether you have any points on that.
I found it a little bit difficult, in all honesty. I interviewed both of them, Josh Alexander face to face, for WrestleSphere, quite cheap plug, quite recently. Went to Manchester, sat down with him, threatened to run off with his championship belt. So to see him then relinquish that a few weeks, and it is a few weeks later, I don't know, I found it quite sad. But at the same time, on the flip side, it's put us in a very unique situation of we are in a pay-per-view, a wrestling pay-per-view, where both the male and the female titles are up for grabs and are vacated before. So as sad as it is, it also created quite an exciting situation that I don't think we've ever seen before in wrestling history. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least as far back as I can remember. So I actually went into Rebellion, which I watched tonight after work. Quite exciting. It's quite a unique situation to be in. So I went in quite geared up, but at the same time, it was bittersweet because the two, just objectively fantastic champions we've had are no more, at least until they can probably come back and take it from there. We'll see.
Yeah, good point, mate. Good point. Like I say, a sort of a really emotional start, and then we went straight into it with the Motor City Machine Guns and Bullet Club, which is Ace Austin and Chris Bay, ABC, the Ace and Bay connection, competing in the Ultimate X, a classic Ultimate X style match, the first for the Impact Tag Team Championship since 2015. I'm so impressed with Ace Austin and Chris Bay, Sam. I just think they are one of the best tag teams in the world right now, and they deserve all the gold, and I think, I've done that wrong, haven't I?
I kind of like it. It.
That was supposed to be an overlap, but they're in the background now, so we'll see how that works. But yeah, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, an incredible kind of tag team, and he did some incredible work. Obviously, the Motor City Machine Guns have that legacy in Impact Wrestling. Ace Austin, doing the sort of soaring to glory moonsault to the outside was incredible. The art of finesse into the fold, just amazing work. And it's not that I don't love the Motor City Machine Guns, but clearly what they were doing was putting over the younger team here. And for me, Ace Austin and Chris Bay are just, the sky is the limit for those guys as a tag team. But not only is he a tag team with the Bullet Club, of course, that Bullet Club affiliation, but certainly, you got to believe. I mean, Ace Austin, I think, has held Impact Gold now before, but I think Chris Bay is a future world champion, not necessarily just in Impact Wrestling. These guys are exceptional. And the Motor City Machine Guns did a cracking job putting them over. This was, one of my favorite matches of the whole night. I don't know what you have to say on that, Sam.
Yeah, well, I love an Ultimate X match. I'm whenever they do the Ultimate X thing, I'm really into it. I loved it that they did it with the women's titles a little while ago. I like how they're experimenting with that match type with other things other than the X Division title. However, the fact that we had an X Division title on the card made me think, I wish this was Ultimate X. But at the same time, I think having the two titles up on the X makes it a little bit more awkward. Like the finish was a little bit awkward with Bay getting them both off. So I think it more suits. Blimey. Well, once he got them both off, everything was great. It had a happy ending, but what I'm saying is, I don't know what you're laughing at. I'm talking about the match, but yeah, it's I prefer it when it's for a singles title, like the X Division title, which is what made that stipulation famous. But I agree with this iteration of Bullet Club, this tag team within Impact. The sky's the limit for them. They're both great, but the problem is because they're in Bullet Club, will they one day suffer from a Bullet Club curse with one turning on the other? Like David Finlay is now kicking people out left, right, and centre who don't go to subscribe to his vision of Bullet Club, like we've seen with El Fantasmo, who's also been an Impact guy in the past. But yeah, no complaints about the match. Motor City Machine Guns put them over. It was the right decision. Everything was, worked. It was one of the more exciting matches on the card. Perfect one to start the main card as well. Yeah, I'm a little bit not bored of these two teams going to war. I just feel like I've seen it a few times now. So I think the champs now need to move on. But it was definitely the right call for Motor City to put them over, without a doubt. Who are always great, always consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. They are great. They are like the Dolph Ziggler of Impact Wrestling, just putting everybody over in singles competition and otherwise. The Motor City Machine Guns, one of the most dependable tag teams out there, putting over the young Bullet Club members. Next up, we had. I believe I've got the order correct. The first singles match for Santino in 9 years, teaming with Joe Hendry and Dirty Dango. Now, interestingly enough, for me here, Sam, I have a couple of comments. I think Joe is incredibly over, which is great to see. There's Santino in the background there. I'm going to have to put that up properly when you do your review, because that's Santino Marella. That was supposed to look more professional than it does. Yeah, I love how over Joe Hendry is. I think Joe Hendry is an incredible talent. I also think that Dirty Dango needs a heel turn. He needs a different gimmick. He had Dirty Dango in NWA. I think Fandango, Dirty Dango, whatever you want to call him, is arguably one of the more talented and underrated performers in wrestling on the whole. But this whole dancing gimmick, man, it doesn't do it for me, and it never has done it for me, and I think it hampers him. Obviously, them getting the win was a massive surprise, thanks to, of course, Sami Callihan, the death machine. There's Sammy again, terrible picture there in the background that I wish looked a bit more professional for this context.
I like it. I actually kind of like doing this, having them in the background behind us. It's pretty cool. But anyway,
okay. Well, there's Sammy. Sammy turned on the design, which was nice little storyline twist, helping the faces win. Santino gets the Cobra to win. But the thing that came out of this for me was how good Fandango is, or Dirty Dango, and how he needs to shirk that gimmick. That gimmick is an albatross around his neck, and I want Dirty Dango to do something else, because he is a very talented guy. I really think that he deserves better. What I like as well in this kind of context is a silly match, I suppose, or it potentially had the potential to be, but it did showcase everybody's wrestling skills. There wasn't a lot of silly spots outside of the Cobra. What I also love about Impact is they're just not that, they reference Santino's WWE wins, and they brought it up, and they referenced WWE. I love Impact for that. They just do what they want to do. They're just so chill. I love Impact Wrestling, and I wish more people watched Impact, because it's such a great show. It's so much less up its own ass than WWE and AEW. It's just good wrestling. They can reference organizations without it being a big deal. I love, this was a perfect example of why Impact is so good. Sticking 2-3 fun faces against the serious heels, but letting the fun faces, even Santino Marella, showcase wrestling skill. It was really good. There was a lovely double fall-away slam by Joe Hendry on the design. The Callahan moment turning on Dina was cool. Callahan to me should have been back in WWE by now. Should have been in AEW by now. Callahan is the best, one of the best in the business when it comes to a gimmick and it comes to promos. I love Sami Callihan, and long may he reign at the top of the Impact roster. But great to see him potentially starting a feud with the design. I enjoyed the baseball bat to Dina, and the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. I love all that. So for me, this was a surprise, because I didn't expect the faces to win, Sam. But your thoughts on it, please.
Yeah, when it comes to Dango, I think like they've watered him down a little bit on Impact compared to what he was in NWA. In NWA, he was this guy, took his shirt off, looked his opponent in the eye, and went, "Let's get weird," and kind of got in their heads that way. Creepy, a little bit how Dalton Castle likes to creep out his opponents, or be a certain way around them. So I kind of like it, but I think they should lean into the weirdness, and they might be able to save it. I don't know, maybe. Because if they turn him heel, they could do that too. But I think as a baby face, it'd be funnier. because you could get behind him and he could freak out some heels. And that'd be funny to watch. People like Brian Myers, for example, or Matt Cardona would be really taken aback by that, or Moose. There's a lot they could do there, but we'll see. We'll see where they go. Yeah, like it was good seeing Santino, wrestle again. And you're right, everyone kind of kept it relatively serious. And there's a yawn. And anyway, I think the whole thing here was building up to Sammy turning on the design, which has always been coming. Even the design, I've seen it coming for weeks and weeks, but then he actually did it. And what on earth was Deonna thinking, giving him his baseball bat? He was always going to hit you with it. But yeah, it's good. I like to see where that's going to go now. Now we're going to have this vigilante Sammy versus this, this cult of nutters. So I like it. I think that's what it all was designed to be. Joe Hendry, I feel like he's a heel gimmick, doing a baby face thing. The whole coming out and singing about how prestigious you are. That to me, that's heel material. But he seems to be over as a face. So as long as he is, keep him there. Do what you got to do. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going to go.
Yeah, I certainly believe in Joe Hendry. Dex Baker brings up an interesting point. Dirty Dango's comedy doesn't land on a roster where you have guys like Johnny Swinger being far more funny. That's an interesting point.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I agree. And we have a couple of interviews with Johnny Swinger on right here on the Gimme Hull Yeah podcast, actually. So if you want to check them out, Dex, Johnny Swinger's a good lad. Got a lot of time for the swing man. But yeah, again, a more creepy Dango could work really well in that context for sure. So we had the last rights match, I believe, next, or so we'll cover it as if it was next. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the last rights. PCO versus Eddie Edwards. Now, PCO, that's quite handy because you can see PCO's maniacal face over our heads. I love PCO. And I think this is going to annoy a lot of people. I think that if in a world where you can have Rosemary, in a world where you can have PCO, and it doesn't seem to bother anyone, if indeed Bray does get fired and released from WWE, stick him in Impact Wrestling and he'll have the whale of a time. PCO is awesome. I love the French Canadian Frankenstein gimmick. I love how it's presented. Eddie Edwards was the perfect foil for it with his wife Alicia. I thought this was a lot of fun. Obviously, the last rights match gets a lot of flack. I think Sting and Abyss were the last people to do it. It's not hailed as one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, and neither will this be. But the point is that it's silly fun. PCO gets a win with a choke slam into the casket. There's some lovely sort of dives. PCO, who's like 60-something, doing whatever, doing somersaults into his opponent, Eddie Edwards, who is, of course, again, the absolute workhorse of Impact Wrestling and deserves all the Hall of Fame inductions, an eventual Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame induction, because he is incredible. Eddie Edwards is great. Obviously, you've done an interview with him, haven't you, Sam? But just a silly, fun match for PCO. I enjoyed. There was a nice little moment where I'm assuming PCO is double jointed because he pops his shoulder out, and we're all supposed to believe that he's dislocated his shoulder till he like smashes it back in the post like a Frankenstein's monster, and sort of puts it back in place. Then there's the chops and everything. Again, silly fun. There was a nice moment where you thought Eddie was going to win with that tiger suplex on the rampway into a Boston knee pie. Lovely. A little moment there. Then Eddie Edwards super kicks his wife, which is, again, people didn't see that coming. Again, some potential friction there in a storyline context to see how that goes. Eddie and Alicia obviously had their rough patches on Impact Television, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, PCO gets the win with the chokeslam into the casket. A surprising result. I would have expected Eddie Edwards to go over here, Sam, but the French Canadian Frankenstein gets the win in what could become a trademark match for the guy. going forward. Your thoughts on PCO? Oh, I've just realised I have this. I prepared these banners too. What am I doing with my life?
I should be helping you really, but yeah, it's yeah. I'm a big Eddie Edwards guy. I think he's one of the best things about Impact. Like you can't. You have to watch Impact if you want to see Eddie Edwards, and he's a good attraction for that. You know, I interviewed him recently, and he had a lot of love for the company, despite his gimmick being in Honor No More that he didn't. Like you can tell, the man himself, the man behind the character, adores working there and is very proud of it. I've never been a big PCO guy in his current career resurgence. I don't know. I find it all a little bit hammy, but I don't know. I'm a guy who enjoys Bray Wyatt, so I can't really be. Yeah, I'm a bit inconsistent, I suppose. I don't know. He's certainly insanely talented and insanely good at what he does, and this career resurgence he's having a lot of fun. Yeah, good match, bit hammy. I don't mind a casket match, which is what this is at the end of the day. You know, I know Undertaker kind of has the monopoly on them, but there are other dark characters in wrestling, and it does work quite nicely for them too. I think that, you know, PCO is one of those guys. At the end of the day, his gimmick is he's an undead monster, a bit like the Undertaker. So it's fine by me. I think now we've seen these guys batter each other in a range of matches, so I am ready for this feud to blow off. And both of them move on to something else. I don't think this can go on until Slammiversary. Maybe it needs to end now, but we'll see what happens. It's been fun.
We will. And like I said in the beginning, Sam, I believe Slammiversary to be either on a Friday or a Saturday. So we'll be able to cover that live. I'm looking forward to the potential of that. Next up is absolutely a contender. If we do a match of the year video, which I know we've done in the past, the Mike Bailey, Trey Miguel, and Jonathan Gresham Eliminator triple threat was outstanding. You know, I think it was well documented, and a guy we've interviewed a lot now, Trey Miguel, and Mike Bailey is one of my favorite interviews in wrestling, one that I've done before. I mean, you know, there was a lot in the press about Trey Miguel when the Rascals, as they were then, signed to WWE. Because, and there's Trey behind us. But you know, when obviously Trey Miguel didn't get picked up, and I really think that they missed a trick, because Trey Miguel is absolutely insane. He's so talented, such talent. Mike Bailey, such a talent. Jonathan Gresham, what were you thinking, Tony Khan, letting that dude go? Like, you know, he was in Ring of Honor, of course, the octopus of Ring of Honor. Was Jonathan Gresham. These guys, man, absolute barn burner. Trey Miguel's my performer of the night, you know, because of his work here. Mike Bailey a close second, Gresham a close third. They did fantastic work. The mid-air knees by Miguel onto Gresham, who was in a figure four at the time, by Mike Bailey, eliminated Gresham. That was insane. What an insane spot. The only issue I have with this, Sam, was after such an incredible match, such a mouth-watering wrestling contest, Trey Miguel wins it with a roll-up and a pull of the tights. That you know, the best match of the night was marred by an issue with I have an issue with the way the end was booked. The rolling of the tights for you know, for Trey Miguel to retain was a real problem for me, because this was absolutely amazing. All the spots here, lots of kicks, lots of dives, you know, brilliant technical work, particularly between Gresham and Bailey, because they sort of teamed up against Trey Miguel for a good portion of the match. Just the two. I'm going to say this right now. Next to Bryan Danielson, I think Gresham and Mike Bailey are in the top three technical wrestlers today. I think, you know, I don't necessarily think you can put them over Danielson, but you could. But there's no two better for me in my mind. I don't know if you guys in the comments agree with this, if you come back to it, or you're there with us now. Graham, particularly, Gresham and and Mike Bailey, just top-notch technical performers, Sam. It was the right call to have Trey Miguel go over here, but a terrible way to do it after such a wonderful match. Your thoughts on this one, Sam?
Yeah, like I said, we interviewed Trey Miguel for WrestleSphere a little while ago, and he told us that hilarious story about getting into trouble at primary school for doing the suck it at the top of the school stairs. So go and watch that if you want a good giggle, because he has me laughing out my socks when he tells me that. But yeah, good match. I actually think, like, I'm a big Gresham guy, and he actually did have a feud with Zack Sabre Jr. over who was the best technical wrestler in the world. That Zack Sabre Jr. won. So maybe there's unfinished business there one day. But yeah, I actually think this match got better when Gresham had been eliminated, because there wasn't two baby faces ganging up on a heel anymore. The heel kind of came into his own and got to do some impressive stuff. And I also think Bailey is an amazing striker as well. Like some of those kicks he does sometimes, some of the judo he does, and it is absolutely insane. So he's so good. But yeah, the finish was a little bit after such a barn burner. So it's hard to, it's hard to argue with that. It wasn't, but I think they needed a Healy way and an undefinitive way for him to win. So there can be now disputes between him and Bailey for that match going forward, perhaps over to Slammiversary. And Dex Baker's dead right here. Gresham was one of the best things about wrestling during the pandemic, while WWE was doing flipping walls on wall of TVs, and AW was having its dailies place that got tiresome. Ring of Honor was doing the technical, pure stuff, and it was a real balm during the pandemic. So yeah, Gresham was a big part of that. So it's a shame he left, but at least he's doing his thing in Impact. So.
Absolutely, and Impact, as ever, gains from other people's mistakes in terms of letting people go. You see Alan Angels obviously was on this card. There's countless examples of missteps by other bookers and other promoters that I think Impact just picks up on. I think Impact is the uncrowned gem of professional wrestling. And
yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here the day after a pay-per-view to talk about it, because Impact deserves your attention, and it very much deserves our attention, even though we couldn't watch it live. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you for sort of coming back to it. If you come back to this, we really appreciate it. Next up, we had the Hardcore War. Now this had no right to be as good as it was.
Yeah.
Let's just say, this was a real coming out party for Killer Kelly. And Masha Slamovich as well. Let's hear it for all of these people. So Team Bully had Bully Ray, Moose, Brian Myers, Kenny King. Great shout for Kenny King as well. Great showing. Versus Team Dreamer. You saw Tommy Dreamer crying earlier on, the most emotional guy in all of professional wrestling. He had a little promo where he got teary. Tommy Dreamer, Killer Kelly, Uemura, Frankie Kazarian, and Bhupinder Gujjar. Bhupinder's a lovely lad. We've interviewed him, haven't we, Sam?
Yes.
Yes. So great to see Bhupinder get a showcase here. Great to see Uemura get a showcase here. This was particularly great for the female contingent of this Hardcore War. On Bully's side, you had Masha Slamovich, and on Tommy Dreamer, I love, and I might be a little bit in love with Killer Kelly. Man, like what a star. What an absolute star that you made for hardcore wrestling. Same with Masha Slamovich. Just an incredible showcase for both Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray. Great to see Tommy Dreamer getting the win here. After you don't really expect Tommy Dreamer to get too many wins in 2023, so it was nice to see him get the win for his team after some lovely, like a human centipede of submission. That all the dudes got in like they were just submitting each other. That was pretty cool. You had the Dreamer Driver kick out by Bully. That was another great spot. The refs, obviously Bully Ray attacking all the referees. A nice little spot. Then the referees attacking back. A wonderful cutter from, I believe it was Kazarian to Skylar, who came out to support Bully Ray. There was a numbers game advantage for Bully Ray's team at one point that the Team Dreamer managed to overcome. Uemura I was impressed with. I want to see more from Yuya. I think he's done some AEW stuff too. Uemura, I look forward to seeing more. I think he didn't get the showcase that other people got in this. So I'd like to see more from Uemura. But all in all, did not have any right to be this fun. Did not have any right to be this good. But it was. Tommy Dreamer gets the win at the end. And once again, absolutely wonderful showing from Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. Sam, I don't know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think she was the standout person, wasn't she? Killer Kelly with the staple gun and battering everybody. Because I'm sometimes I sometimes struggle with intergender matches, mainly because I have major problems with any dude ever even simulating hitting a woman. But in this, you just didn't notice at all. It was warrior fighting warrior. It was just cracking. It showed why wrestling is, why sometimes I might be on the wrong side of that debate. But anyway, it was, yeah. I'm not a big hardcore wrestling guy, but this was awesome. This kept my attention from the beginning it started, from the minute it ended. They had the right people come in at the right times as well. People like Uemura, who are just like budding stars. They've had their time in New Japan. Now they're on the larger American and Canadian scenes. That he looked really strong in this, and now he's someone to pay attention to. I've interviewed Bhupinder. For WrestleSphere, I know how superb he is. Great guy to talk to as well. Again, I've not been a big Dreamer fan in recent years. Bully Ray's always consistent. Brian Myers, Kenny King are always consistent. Yeah, I think you summed it up. We said this is better than it had any right to be. This was my favorite match of the night. It was just ridiculous, daft wrestling, but I actually preferred it to both of the main events, believe it or not.
Wow, that is high praise.
Yeah.
Very high praise from yourself there. Yeah, like I say, great showcase for some emerging talent, particularly Gujjar. I want to see more from Uemura. Kenny King was great. Brian Myers is great usually, and this is going to sound, I know I've done a great interview. I was very privileged to have a great interview with Brian Myers, but I do believe he's better whenever Matt Cardona's around. He looked a little bit lost in the shuffle here. Personally, everyone else I thought had a good solid run in this. Moose, of course. I mean, there was a point in me that says, why is Moose in here? Because Moose should be at the top of the card every single night. Moose is an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we, but a great showcase for everybody. A great showcase for everybody here, and a fantastic showcase for hardcore matches in 2023. I was surprised that Tommy Dreamer got the win with a splash there as well. Never seen Tommy Dreamer do a splash off anything, but Tommy Dreamer managed to get the win there with a splash. Next up, Sam, we had the Impact World Championship match. We've got a couple of comments, and we will get through those, particularly the draft prediction stuff. We will do after the Impact review is done, because obviously we're here to talk about Impact Wrestling. But yes. Yeah, Maclin and Kushida. I didn't have the highest of hopes for this. Kushida is obviously a former cruiserweight champion in WWE, and obviously a world-renowned star in New Japan. But I was surprised and interested when he was elevated to the main event. This was always going to be Steve Maclin's win. I would have given Steve Maclin the win even if Josh Alexander was in this match. Steve Maclin is ready for this role, and he's been ready for a long time. I think this was a coming out party for both these guys. Kushida proving, because again, I didn't see Kushida as a main eventer, not even close, until I watched this. And I realized just how good Kushida is, and how good Maclin is. I never thought anything of Steve Maclin when it was in the Forgotten Sons in WWE, and when he was, and it's not through disrespect. Obviously, I can't perform to the level that Steve Maclin can. However, I just wasn't really into his character. And he really has solidified this sort of Punisher style military dude. I think he does have that military background, and he is the perfect guy to take the mantle from Josh Alexander, I think. And I can't think of anybody better to do that. Just an incredible showcase for both Kushida and Maclin, particularly Maclin. That KIA DDT is the best bloody DDT I've ever seen. He does the Death Rider or the he does Moxley's finisher better than Moxley does. Steve Maclin. Yeah, Steve Maclin is absolutely incredible and a great. And Kushida, man, I hope Kushida. I know he lives in Florida, and I hope he has a job in America for life. Because Kushida is, he is one of the best wrestlers, technically, particularly, but in the world today. And I had realized it before, but because he was in the lower card in WWE. And because I don't think he was supposed to be in this main event, I was like, okay, what are they doing here? Let's see what Kushida can do. And I have been pleasantly surprised by just how good Kushida is. And Maclin deserves this win. Great DDT to finish it off. Kushida with that vicious-looking submission that he has. I love that. The running kick by Kushida on the ramp was a nice moment. Both these guys, for me, prove themselves to be main eventers with this. That hoverboard lock was great, particularly when it caught Maclin off the top. Great stuff, fantastic work by both these guys. The reversal into the buckle was good. Then the hoverboard lock again reversed into that super KIA. Fantastic work. Great heel stuff for Maclin post the event as well. Maclin, sort of demanding that Scott D'Amore bring out the title belt and put it around his waist. Of course, Scott D'Amore comes out reluctantly, and then Maclin attacks him with the belt. Before we talk about the special guest commentator, because I think that's a subject of its own, and I want to bring that up on its own. Stop flacking your balls against the microphone.
I was putting my phone down after just liking this video on our Facebook page.
Just disliking it?
No, liking it.
I was going to say, thanks.
That's why it's got up a thumbs up. I was liking it from the WrestleSphere account.
That's a good idea, cross promotion. But yeah, exactly. Before we talk about the special guest referee, Sam, special guest commentator, because I do believe that is a topic on its own. What did you think of this match?
Right, I agree with the finish. It's Maclin's time. You're dead right. He's like the anti-Josh Alexander. So it's a really nice flip from this, from everything Alexander was to this. And I can't wait for them two to collide again. I hope Maclin holds it all the way until Alexander's back for that reason alone. That's a fight I want to see. I also recognize Kushida is a talent and is I take nothing away from him, but I think he was misbooked in this. Great match, great showing, not enough heat. I think we needed, and this is going to sound terrible, but I feel like because Kushida doesn't speak a massive amount of English, or at least doesn't seem to volunteer it that often, like when the whole promo what Josh Alexander cut the other day, Kushida stayed silent, gave a thumbs up, beat up the heel a bit, but didn't say anything. I think this needed some emotion. I think Rich Swann should have been booked in that position. Someone who's had a really, really emotional run, who's struggled going for the title because his friend has held the title, went for it, came up short. Then there's all the stuff with him still wanting his redemption from being the guy who Kenny Omega took the Impact title off and took it to AEW. I think there's so much storytelling there with Rich Swann. And I'm not even a massive Rich Swann fan, but I think there's so much there. This could have been it. This should have been a moment where Swann was like, right, I'm going to carry the torch for Impact. I'm going to, defend Josh Alexander's honor here. I'm going to be the guy who does this. And then to come up short against this villain in Maclin, I think that would have been a better story. I just do. Maybe it could have led to a heel turn later down the road for Swan, which he does need at some point. But I think for Kushida, he was in that picture. Now he's not in that picture. Now I think it makes sense for Kushida to go after the X Division title, perhaps, and have a banger against Trey Miguel or a few bangers. I think that's where he's best being booked. But yeah, there wasn't enough heat in this. Great technical showcase from both men. They're both brilliant. But for me, I wasn't as invested in this story as I would have wanted to have been. I think Maclin, Maclin being in this spot made all the sense in the world. He was the guy. He was the heel who should have been in this match. But the babyface who should have been in this match, I don't think should have been Kushida. It's just my opinion. But other than that, I can't fault the match. It didn't have a huge amount of heat and hype with me. That's all.
I could understand that. And like I say, for me, this was a great coming out for Kushida, and I hope he does get on to, again, the X Division title. I think he'd be a great carrier for that. And actually, I realized I got the wrong. It was Kushida was carrying the North American title for a while as well in WWE.
Yes.
And I didn't actually, I thought it was, I automatically defaulted to the Cruiserweight Championship. But actually, no, it was the North American title that Kushida held, and he's oh no, hang on, no, it was the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm checking myself before I wreck myself. It was actually the Cruiserweight Championship. I think did they unify two titles? Anyway, Kushida was the Cruiserweight champion in WWE, and he actually had a banger of a match with Darby Allin on AEW a few months ago. So again, Kushida's great, and it's great to see him get some time in the spotlight in this World Championship feud. But let's see what happens for both these guys in the future, because that moves nicely on to my next point, which is the one and only Nick Aldis, who is behind us now. Nick Aldis was the guy who was on commentary for this match, and Nick Aldis was the guy that also interfered when Scott D'Amore was attacked by Maclin, setting up what you would presume, Sam, to be a feud between Aldis and Maclin. Now, there's been a lot in the last couple of months about WWE being high on Aldis, as they rightly should be, but due to these new new issues that WWE have had, they've not been hiring anybody, and that's possibly what blocked Triple H bringing Aldis in. Nick Aldis is an incredible talent. One of the favorite interviews I've ever done. You can see on both WrestleSphere and Gimme a Hug, the full interview, which basically meant I did nothing but sit and listen to Nick Aldis talk about his career for an hour. It was one of the easiest interviews I've ever done, and one of the most revealing as well. He goes to absolute town on Impact, actually, which is interesting given obviously his return. So go and watch that if you want some insider knowledge about Nick Aldis's career, because I think it was 1 hour. It was a whole hour long of just Nick Aldis ranting. It was cool.
It's a really funny interview to watch as well. I enjoy it. I've enjoyed it a few times.
Thanks for watching it, man. But yeah, so Nick Aldis, Sam. I wanted to give him his own segment here, because he's potentially one of the bigger free agents, or was one of the bigger free agents in wrestling. Was it right? Because if you go back to that interview, he doesn't actually have that many lovely things to say. I mean, it was TNA, and I understand that. It was TNA, so things have changed. Scott D'Amore wasn't in charge then. Was this the right move for a guy the standard of Nick Aldis to go back to Impact Wrestling, where he has effectively done everything he needs to do? Even, I suppose, it could be a short-term thing until the unfreeze happens to WWE's hiring, but What do you make of I thought it was just a guest spot. I thought, oh yeah, cool, he's coming to do the commentary to pop a few ratings. It's already had over 100,000 views on the Impact YouTube, so clearly it's a big name there, big name for a lot of people. Former 2-time NWA champion. But my question to you, Sam, is was this the right move for Mr. Aldis to go? Because it wasn't just a guest spot. This is presumably setting up something for Maclin and Aldis down the road.
Well, I think with Aldis, like it is a step up from NWA. I know he put NWA on his back and worked very hard to make it to put it on the map and turn it into something big, which I think he achieved. I think NWA is great viewing, and I miss him being there personally. But I think Impact is just objectively bigger than NWA these days. NWA's like what number 5 or 6. If Impact's these days, perhaps like number 3, number 4. So it's still it's a step up for him. It's more eyes on him. He puts more eyes on Impact too because he has a following. I think it's good business. Like, he doesn't need to be there forever. He could go to AW or WWE if he wants. But I think Impact's a good home. He's been there before. He had a different gimmick though. He was Magnus back then. When now he's the the King's Lane. I forgot what he calls himself. He is that guy now. He's almost wrestling royalty himself. So I think it works. I'm open to seeing what they do, and he's also a serious threat to Maclin. So this is all I think to help Maclin look like an absolute monster, because he's already said I'm going to the title picture where he's been before. So I'm into it. I do think it's a smart decision. WWE and AEW aren't the only games in town. They never have been. They're just not. They're the biggest two, yeah, for sure. But I think here, Aldis can be a much bigger player than if he was in WWE or AEW. Both companies have problems either building stars or booking stars right sometimes. Impact are a little bit more selective, so it's easier for people to float to the top if they're big stars. And I think Aldis instantly goes to that place, and we can see some great matches between him and Moose, him and Maclin, him and whoever else. I'm into it. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Once again, Nick Aldis, an incredible talent. Just good to see him back on TV screens. And long live Impact. Long live Impact. Dex has an interesting comment. Dex always with the wonderful hot takes. Just want to say a great big thank you to Dex for his support of the channel. I will do a quick plug for the tiers that you can support us on after this review is done. Dex is one of those supporters. He says this was the only place for him right now. He can at least redeem his last run. People blame his title run for the downfall of TNA, but he got really good. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting point about the downfall of TNA, Dex. I had not really thought of that. So yeah, very, very good point there. Thank you for that. I think we can move on now safely to the main event, the Knockouts World Championship match between Jordynne Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. Now, I want to kind of give flowers to that's Deonna Purrazzo behind us. I want to give flowers to both these performers, Deonna Purrazzo particularly, for being, again, the greatest, probably next to Charlotte Flair, the greatest technical women's wrestler on the planet. Easily top 3 to 5 performers in wrestling right now, as is Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace, of course, an absolute powerhouse. These guys put on what was quite rightly the main event and should have always been the main event. I think, there were, again, some lovely moments. Grace with a beautiful dive to Deonna on the outside. Wonderful technical work from both these guys. Again, the jackhammer on the outside from Jordynne Grace just showcases that power. There's a moonsault off a ramp to Grace by Deonna, again showing the agility of Deonna. A Koji clutch, lovely Koji clutch by Deonna, again showing the toughness of the toughness of Jordynne Grace. Again, I think both these guys just had just an absolute banger, and both of them were showcased for what they are. Jordynne Grace, a powerhouse of a performer, arguably the best conditioned women's wrestler on the planet. Deonna Purrazzo, the greatest technical, one of the greatest one of the greatest technical performers of the last 10 years for me. The Grace driver kick out from Deonna, I thought that was it. I thought that was absolutely it. But Deonna managed to kick out the Grace driver at the end, and of course you get the Queen's Gambit, which was delivered with more ferocity than I've ever seen it delivered to John for the win by Deonna, and then a lovely show of sportswomanship by both these guys at the end. Again, I would have called Deonna the de facto heel here and John the face. But both of them took the moment to realize that, they just main evented. They just put on what for me was the second best match of the night. Absolutely 100% the best match of the night. Second best match of the night, but for many people will probably be the best match of the night. John Grace and John Purrazzo, an absolute clinic in modern technical wrestling versus power. Again, catch as catch can. Both of them had each other's number. I would want to run this back a pay-per-view. I want Jordan to have a rematch. This was from start to finish for me, Sam, and I wonder if you have a different take, but for me this was absolute masterclass in not only technical wrestling and what it's like, powerhouse, power of Jordan Grace, but also exemplifies Impact Wrestling's. I know, 5 people are with us now. If a couple more people come back to this, that's great. But I want to go on record as saying Impact Wrestling have the best women's roster on the planet and have done for the last 3 to 4 to 5 years. Impact Wrestling deserves the flowers, man. And this match exemplified everything Impact is about in 2023. The great work of Scott D'Amore and the management team, and the great work of an incredible women's roster. The women shone, outside of that triple threat. Of course, we were giving, Masha, Slamovich, and Killer Kelly their kudos. An incredible women's roster, Sam, and this was the absolute pinnacle of great women's wrestling in this time, I think.
I love how last week's episode of Impact ended as well. Obviously, we had the heartbreaking Mickie James promo where she relinquished. That was, but we knew that was coming, so we were a little bit prepared for it. But then it cut to both these competitors sat in the studio watching that promo and then looking at each other, and it wasn't a case of animosity. It was a case of, right, it's got to be one of us. Let's do what we can. It was a great moment where two people just acknowledging each other without bitterness. It was a sports situation rather than a heat situation. And I actually thought, like the other match, that might ruin it for me, but it didn't. And it was interesting because I think Deonna is now a babyface. She's also been feuding with another heel. I've forgotten her name. What's she called? Giselle Shaw. She's been feuding with Giselle Shaw. And Giselle is very much the heel in that feud with Deonna. So it was cool to see. I think so. Deonna, cemented a face turn with that hug at the end of this. I think she's now cemented that, even though she was still a little bit more nefarious in the match than Jordynne was. They could do a Bron Breakker now with Jordynne Grace, have her be a good sports person, and then attack her the next day on TV. But yeah, it was just a great match. Maybe it suffered from a little bit of a lack of heat at times, but at the same time, the story was good enough to not really need it. Where I thought with the previous match, the story wasn't good enough to not use it, to not need it. Again, I've got nothing bad to say about what they did in the ring and after it. And it's also great to see the women completely main event, and that be given more importance than the dudes, because I think we saw Josh relinquish a week or two ago, and we only just saw Mickie James do it, so it made sense to do it the way they did it. I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like say, Deonna as a face, I'm down to see that, man. I think that's be really interesting to see that dynamic. And John Grace could be a monster heel. So and, good booking there from yourself. To go way back to recap. Obviously, we've gone through the match card. We have looked at the matches individually. Is there anything you feel like I've missed, Sam, that you want to talk about before we do the review, where we look at the the match of the night, the performer of the night, and the grade for the whole event? Is there anything you think I've missed that's worth mentioning?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that happened on the show that we might need to talk about? But it was quite tight, wasn't it? They did everything they needed to do. I'm trying to think, is there any talent that didn't make it onto the card? But I've already covered Rich Swann, and I'm trying to think who
you could have put, Crazy Steve, I suppose.
Yeah.
But,
another person we've interviewed for WrestleSphere, by the way, Crazy Steve, and what a cool guy. And just to plug Crazy Steve as well, I asked him the question I think a lot of people think about, how he makes it look so easy when, with him being registered blind. And he told me some amazing things about his philosophy on disabilities and about, how he works and how he makes it work so well. So that's probably one of my favorite wrestling interviews I've ever done. Crazy Steve, what a cool guy.
Yeah,
loves horror movies as well, which we had a good chat about, so that was cool.
Still picking up those views as well. People still loving that Crazy Steve interview. So congratulations on a great bit of work there, Sam.
Oh well, it's all him, mate. I'm just the gob on a stick asking him questions. He's the star, and it's great to. There's so many angles to that interview, and so many things he talks about which are fascinating in their own right. And even if he didn't have his disability and he was just a creepy wrestler, he'd still be fascinating. The fact that he does all that with only barely able to see certain things, you just wouldn't know. The guy is so naturally talented and gifted. And I described him as a real life daredevil, which popped him.
You did. Yeah, that was. It was cool. Well, let's recap the card then, Sam.
Yes.
In terms of your favorite match of the night, what would you give it?
Oh, match of the night. I'm going for the hardcore match. I didn't think I'd say that. I actually thought I wouldn't be that bothered about that one, but I'm going for that because I think everybody looked great.
Yeah, nice.
It was just fun, just classic fun. That's my match of the night.
Nice. And I think for me, again, I talk about the women's wrestling match, exemplifying how great Impact Wrestling's female division is. But that triple threat as well, the X Division match. Again, the X Division is such a wonderful concept that's stood the test of time. Say what you want about the last Rites match, another doomed concept that Impact has come up with. Of course, there's been some absolute howlers that Impact have come up with over the years. The X Division being the crowning achievement of Impact Wrestling's kind of collective brain, and I think that this was a great example of just how valuable and how relevant Impact Wrestling can be in 2023, and how relevant the X Division is as well. Of course, the X Division has birthed the likes of AJ Styles, the likes of Trevor Lee, who of course became
Cameron Grimes.
There's so many examples of people that have gone to worldwide acclaim that have been and done the X Division thing, and it's just a wonderful star-making performance for the sort of the Trey, Miguel, Jonathan Gresham, and Mike Bailey. I was, of course, referring to the Ultimate X I was thinking about, but that was a great match too. And again, a sort of a tag team making performance for the Bullet Club, particularly. But that X Division Championship match, the X Division is just it's just on fire, has been for decades, and a great example of what is there for the X Division. Just a fantastic example of how Impact is unique and innovative, Sam, I think.
Yeah. And it's fun. They could be a little bit more experimental, Impact, as well. They don't need to stick rigidly to certain formats. They can piss about with certain things in a way that WWE and AEW probably don't dare to come out of their boxes with. But Impact, what I appreciate about Impact and TNA to a point is they're always willing to experiment and give something a try. And I respect that.
Yeah, they just try everything, man. They try everything, and that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? They will try everything and give it a shot. and that, you know, and again, it just seems so much more chill. It just seems so much more chill, doesn't it? You know.
I think they found their groove, haven't they? In this current era of Impact, I think they found their groove. They found their place in the world. They're no longer the TNA of old, where it wanted to take on WWE and take the fight to them. There's no longer that. There's no longer all the ego, and no longer all the. They've still got ambition, without a doubt, but they're doing it brick by brick. Bigger venues, bigger stars, more this, more that. Appearing on more streaming services, like they've got Impact Plus, they've got their app, they've got the Dazen relationship now. They are going from strength to strength, and this is a tortoise, versus the hare scenario. And Impact, I would encourage more people to watch Impact if you like wrestling, and I might even write a feature about it at some point. I feel like it's having its time in the sun, just very, 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 very slowly. But fast forward a year or two, and it'll be in a really even stronger place than it is now. And I can't wait to see what they do.
Absolutely, and you got to admit they just won't go anywhere. Impact will survive. Impact will outlast everyone. You know, maybe not doing it. Everyone else, you know, the Impact will just keep coming. They just keep
it's nice.
Coming.
They know how to evolve. They know how to shape. They know how to. Go away, restructure themselves, and come back in another image. And I've been a TNA fan since the very, very beginning. And when Sting showed up, that was it. I was hooked, and I've been like that ever since. And they have been through some hard times, but at the moment they're not going through hard times. They're going. There's no bust here. It's all boom. And what's great as well is I think because wrestling has more eyes on it at the moment. I know, it's not what it ever used to be, but I think wrestling is having a little bit of a resurgence. So it might be because of AEW coming out of the woodwork. But I think if people watch AEW and WWE, and you're looking for more wrestling, go and watch these guys. Like,
yes.
You're missing out if you're not. Like, Ring of Honor is now the de facto number 3 because it's got some of the Tony Khan money behind it. And it's wonderful to see Ring of Honor doing these big arenas that it's been doing on Honor Club recently. It's fascinating. As a ROH fan, it's wicked to see. But I'm also an Impact fan, so it's nice to see Impact growing organically. And it is organically with Impact. They haven't got billionaires coming in and throwing money at it. Like some of the other guys do. This with Impact, it's all organic. It's fans for fans being fans. It should be celebrated, and I can't wait for Slammiversary. Slammiversary is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for Anthem. Anthem has actually a lot more money than people give it credit for, but that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, man. Impact just quietly get on with stuff. They just crack on. And that is, that's the wonderful thing about Impact Wrestling. And long may it reign, long may it live. So your performer of the night, Sam, please.
Ooh. I think I'm going to go for Steve Maclin.
Okay.
Because I think he's gone from this annoying heel to this monster at the very top of the mountain. And someone's going to have to slay this beast, but it's going to take a lot of bullets. So I'm going with Maclin.
I like that. For me, it's it's a close one between Deonna Purrazzo and Trey Miguel.
Yeah,
but I'm actually going to give this one to Killer Kelly because I think Killer Kelly was great on the hardcore match. I love Killer Kelly. I think she's a great performer. So yeah, absolutely. I thought she was great. Your grade of the night, then, Sam?
Oh, for this pay-per-view. Yeah. Remind me, is this ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I've forgotten how we do it. I'm so tired. I've forgotten how we do it.
Out of 5.
Out of 5. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Then
give it a 10. So go out of 10.
Oh, out of 10. Then I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's. There was. I'm probably being a little bit generous because the 2 main events didn't hugely tickle my pickle, but I can't criticize them hugely either. They were both really, really, really good matches, and I don't want to think anyone to think I'm talking smack about Kushida. I'm not. I just think it should have been Rich Swann. But I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 because it's the only way I can't criticize it.
Okay, that's good. It's a good review from yourself. Just want to go back up to Clinton's comments. I love how the exhibition is the mold that holds TNA Impact together. Yep,
It is.
can agree with that. And the wonderful women's division. This is why I like Impact and ROH so much stuff to do and to watch. Yeah, I very much agree with you that. I have Impact a change at the start of the planning. I have Impact change at the start of the planning after years of bad taste after Hogan, Deonna and John's first match locked me in, so this match was special. Yeah, absolutely. Hassan is in. Good to see you, mate. Hopefully we'll see you on Raw, or Dan will see you on Raw. Hi guys, rumors in the news that John Grace is leaving Impact in WWE's interest. She's great. Well, that's I mean, it's a surefire. You know, I mean, I think she's seeing was she married to Jonathan Gresham? So, but so that is of course a bonus to them being together. But yeah, if she goes to WWE, that's a great bit of booking for them. But we were just talking earlier, we rally about Nick Aldis and how there was a hiring freeze that apparently left Nick Aldis out in the cold in terms of being hired by WWE. But we'll have to see what happens to both Nick Aldis and John Grace and if they join WWE. There's a comment up here which will nicely segue to something you and I, Sam, are doing later on this week from Prince Ali. Draft predictions. Styles to be drafted to SmackDown, Rollins to be drafted to Raw. We're not going to comment about the draft on this stream because we're here to cover Impact Wrestling, but we are over on Wrestling Royalty. That's Andy Spores' channel, Sam, on the on Friday. Do you want to give that a plug while I find the Andy's channel?
Yeah, so I think we're doing our own drafts, guys. I'm not fully au fait with the rules. Andy's told me a little bit, but I'm yet to sit down and go through the messages and take it in because I've been working, I've been busy. But yeah, Friday night we're all going to do our own little draft. I think there'll be some other special guests and stuff as well. But we often do these pre-SmackDown streams, either with Gimme a Hall Yet or with Wrestling Royalty. And they're quite fun, and they keep me awake for the SmackDown stream as well. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But yeah, we're gonna do our own draft. And if Dom and I are on the same team, we're gonna win. So there you go.
We are on the same team.
I'm like Paul Heyman. I give spoilers. I don't give predictions, so that's a spoiler. Andy, come at me.
Absolutely. So we will be back on Wrestling Royalty before SmackDown because we're on SmackDown on Friday. But tonight you'll have Monday Night Raw with Dan Hargreaves, so go and check that out. Please go and support Dan. He has the hardest shift of the week. So go and support that. We Rally Sports says, I said before, Impact, wonder if we see Nick Aldis yet. Free agent, good get for Impact. No surprises. Wife Mickey James is there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad Nick Aldis is home where he belongs. Some lovely sentiments as we finish this review. For me, the grade, I think a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Again, couldn't have improved it much, actually. In fact, I am going to raise it to a 9. I'm not typically that kind with my grades, Sam, but I am going to raise it to a 9 because I couldn't, the only way I would have improved it is to have Josh Alexander competing with Maclin. And that's that 9 out of 10. That stop whacking your nuts against the table.
I've got a stupid chair. It's because I'm on a wood floor. I need a carpet under here.
It's all good, man. But it says a lot about Kushida. It says a lot about Kushida, Maclin, John Grace, and Deonna Purrazzo for and the hardcore war and all that stuff that we are leaving this stream, giving it a 9 out of 10. That's impressive, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, again, I'm the same, mate. I would have loved to have seen Maclin versus Josh Alexander. Like that's been something I've been salivating for a month or so. I think that's been the money match for quite a while, but it can be the money match again. We can do it at some point. Josh just needs to get healthy, and it's like he said on his promo the other day. You're just holding on to this for me. Don't think I ain't coming straight back for this when I'm back, and that's cool. That gives us something to look forward to when that day comes, and hopefully in a few months.
Yeah, absolutely. Another point here from Clinton, calling it now. Nick Aldis is world title bound. Now,
maybe.
Yeah, I would have said that too if Maclin hadn't just won it.
Yeah, I think like the obviously that might be the main event for Slammiversary, and it should be the main event of Slammiversary. But yeah, I don't know if I'm down with him winning it. I kind of want Maclin to be going a reign of terror. That is what I want now. I want even Moose and Callahan and people like that to be bullied by Maclin. A feud with a babyface Callahan would also be awesome. There's so much they can do with Maclin. This is a great opportunity for Impact, and I like having an interesting heel as the champion. But the whole point of an interesting heel is an interesting babyface eventually takes it off them. So maybe you're right. Who knows? Maybe that can be Aldis.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Maclin, he's not forgotten anymore. Forgotten Sons, yes, indeed. Nice one. We Rally Sports, certainly not forgotten anymore. Steve Maclin. Nick Aldis versus Josh Alexander. Book it. Yeah. I'd be up for that somewhere down the line within the next year. Somewhere down the line. I think Aldis is a champion before this year is out. I think he is.
Yeah, maybe.
But these are bold predictions, and we'll be back as soon as we possibly can be with Impact Wrestling coverage. We do love to cover Impact on this channel. Like I said, the only reason we are here on a Monday night reviewing Impact is to lube you up for Dan on Monday Night Raw, but also because we couldn't be there live on Sunday because it's a Sunday, and that would have been ridiculous because me and Sam both work. But yes, we are here now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for supporting myself and Sam on this review. The first of its kind, certainly we've done for a long, long time. So thank you for the wonderful comments and everything supporting Impact Wrestling. And we'll see you guys. Well, Dan, we'll see you guys later on. We will see you on Friday for SmackDown, potentially with a special guest of our own. So yes, we will see you guys soon. Take it easy, Sam. We're getting out of here, man. Who do you want to see us go out with?
Oh, who's worked? Someone who's worked for Impact. Sammy Guevara's worked there. So Sammy Guevara, we've already had Sammy. He's worked. We already had
Sammy. Oh, I've got one for you. No worries. Right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Support Impact Wrestling. See you later. Hull yeah. Bye, guys. Hull yeah. Bye.
This is the hardcore legend, Mick Foley. Well, hello and welcome to Give Me a Hull Yeah. I hope everyone there, right there in Yorkshire, is having a nice day. Bang, bang. Have a nice day. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Raven.
I mean, yeah, I could have done Raven too. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. In fact, we'll do Raven. We're still live, so we'll just do Raven. We'll do Raven for you guys. Hey, you want to see Raven too?
Do it.
Hey, this is Raven, and thanks for listening to the Give Me a Hull Yeah Wrestling Podcast. Quote the Raven, nevermore.
Bye, guys. See you later.